So, I've been strictly a Tamer main ever since June of 2016. Therefore, when they announced the Succession system, which allows you to sacrifice your awakening skill tree to enhance your pre-awaken abilities, I became very hyped for the possibilities. Especially since Tamer gets up to 90% of her overall damage from the pre-awaken kit. First impression is that the graphics design team did a phenomenal job. One of the factors that has kept me playing the class is the ink and brushstroke aesthetics, which they definitely did a good job expanding upon. So, as you see on the screen right now, this is sort of a broad overview of the skill animations, and we're going to go from there. I'm going to let these play out, and after this clip, we will go over the skills one by one. Okay, so now we get to the fun part, right, of actually going through the abilities one by one. I've messed around with them a bit, so I can discuss exactly what they changed about them. And some of them are good, some of them better than the others, in the sense that some of them just got damage boosts, but a couple of them they added protections and things. So let's start at the top, right? So this right here is the stationary, the berserk, right, which is the E buff for awakening. It's still the same, right? So it's 30% resistance, 15% movement speed, and 20 magic DP, right? Nothing changed there. This is your standard summon Hei Lang. And over here, you see they added something that I feel Tamer players have been asking for 2-3 years, for quite a while. They added us a passive ability, right? Because previously, I'd say we have the most lackluster passive out of any class, right? 25 weight limit plus 50 HP, which is really, really lackluster, right? So now we have this, and this new passive gives 50 HP and 1 magic AP every level, right? 5 levels, so in the end, 250 HP and 5 AP, which is nice, right? It's really nice because, again, we're one of the most squishiest classes, so an extra 250 HP and then 5 AP on top of that. AP is always nice, right? More damage, more damage. Moving on, we have the bread and butter Bolt Wave, Jolt Wave, which the animation looks amazing now. I really like the animation. The only change they did to Bolt Wave is they increased the damage, right? Which is always nice, by around 100% damage. But Jolt Wave was the one that got the biggest change. So on Jolt Wave, anybody that's played Tamer to any degree knows that if you do Bolt Wave, Jolt Wave in PvP outside of a combo or while the enemy isn't CC'd, you're probably gonna get CC'd yourself, right? Because it's completely unprotected. But they added a forward guard to our bread and butter Jolt Wave while you're doing the charge animation. So as you can see right here, they completely changed the way it looks, and that charge up right there is fully protected from the front, right? It's a frontal guard, which is pretty huge, and the range is actually humongous. So from right here, it hits all the way over here. So that's a really nice change, probably one of my favorite changes, because like in the hitbox is nuts. Like you see I hit that weasel that's over there, and I was completely aiming in the front, right? As you can see, bam. So the hitbox is like right along this line. So like, here's this weasel. Let's see if we can hit this guy from back here, right? Like, look at that. I'm over here, and I'm attacking directly in front, and it's hitting everything in like this big circle in front. So I really, really like that. Actually, it's probably one of my favorite changes overall in the added Ascension or Succession kit. Sorry. As far as trample is the same. Nothing was changed about it except for they gave it increased damage and they gave it a new animation, which looks pretty cool, right? As you can see, it has much further range as well, which is one of my biggest things that I really like about the Tamer Succession. Is previously, like, all of our AoEs were really, really small, right? High damage, but the range was really small. But as you can see with these, like, look how far that goes. And it's still as spammable as ever, right? I can see this being really good for a place like Polyforest, or any place that like is a one-shot in terms of like mob HPs. Moving on, Throat Burn is around the same thing. All they did was increase the damage on it, right? Nothing special. It got a little bit more range, but of course, nothing game-changing about this ability. Oops, my bad. Moving on to the next one, Roaring. So now this ability is usually a forgotten one. A lot of Tamers use this while leveling from 1 to 50 because it pretty much one-shots anything you come in contact with up until you get to around media areas. But they actually gave this ability a forward guard, which is pretty cool, right? Because you couldn't use the regular version, or I'll show you. You couldn't really use the regular version of the ability because it's unprotected and the damage didn't scale really well, right? It's real, the damage reduction when fighting higher end mobs, it just didn't translate very well, and it's really unprotected, so it doesn't really work out in like higher tier spots such as Akhman, Histria, Sakraya, Stars In, you know. But they actually added a forward guard to this ability, which can be really nice. It's hard to say. It's hard to say if it will be really viable in those spots without more testing or giving it a shot. But the fact that they gave it a forward guard to this ability is really nice. It's really, really nice. And the animation is, of course, the animation is pretty amazing. And on to the next one, Void Lightning. So Void Lightning, I like what they did to this one as well. So they increased the damage by a lot, and they gave you you get a plus 20 DP buff for 10 seconds. Which, if you're a Tamer player, I don't even have to let you know how big 20 extra DP is just for pressing Q, right? So Q, cancel it, and you still get the 20 DP, even if you use the ability while it's on cooldown. So if you look right here, 6 seconds, Q, recharges to 10 seconds, even if you spam it. So you will 100% of the time have that 20 DP buff up, which is pretty nice. Also, before I forget, the range is humongous on this ability now. So I press Q, right? Look at the range, like the splash radius on that is ridiculous. Like it's probably double what it is currently, right? So let's see. We'll try to use it on these Scarecrow to try to get an idea. But see, like I'm right here, and I stunned all of these. I hit all of these Scarecrow in the radius around me. So that's gonna be pretty nice. We'll see. Let's see what's next. Oh, Whiplash. So Whiplash is a really nice ability. It can be forgotten until you get to higher tiers mobs like Akhman, Histria, Sakraya, and Stars In. That's when this ability really becomes good. And as you can see, they added a follow-up attack at the end of it, right? Let me get Halang out of the way. But they added another long-range follow-up attack to the end, right? So I was standing right here, casting Whiplash, and I hit the Scarecrow that's all the way over there. Again, look at that. It's huge. Like, this is one of my favorite things that they've done with this Succession, is that they've given her so much bigger attack range compared to what she normally has, right? Because on live, all you get is these tiny little like whips in front of you, right? You don't get that huge AoE hit at the end of it, and the damage is pretty good. The damage is buffed even more past the absolute version. Next we got the lightning ability. I can't think of the name of it right now. Hold on. I always forget. Yeah, Lightning of Earth. So this ability, nothing really changed with it. They gave it a little more damage, but I personally don't ever really use this ability very much. But now that it has this increased range, as you can see, I think there may be like different situations where you could use it if you need to like finish someone off that's fleeing, or if you just need that extra bit of range. But overall, yeah, just gave it more range and a little more damage. Next up, we have, this is the 100% ability for the pre-awakened form. I'm not sure how I feel about losing the 100% all-around spinner ability, because this is nowhere near as much damage. But as you can see right here, see, that's the 100% version, right? Like, it's really small, really quick, and the damage isn't all that great. But it has a larger AoE range and a new animation compared to the version that we have on live. So who knows? It's really hard to test damage and things like that on the test server with the Kydic gear they give us, because it's so different from the gear that most people have on the main server. Next up, we have we have Surging Tide. Now, Surging Tide, the changes that they did to this, I think it's going to be pretty big. They gave it 100% crit rate, right? So on live, it currently only has a 50%, I believe. Yes, so on live, it has a 50% crit rate, 800% damage times 7, right? On here, it has 100% crit rate, 1200% damage times 7, and the range on it is massive, right? So I'm going to sit back here, do it, and I reached all the way back there. So like I'm right here, and the ability hits all the way across there, if you can see my mouse cursor, and not to mention the ones on the side. Like the range is insane. That's ridiculous compared to what we currently have now, which is just a straight line ability that doesn't even really go that far and nowhere near as quick as this is. Like look how fast it goes out. It's pretty much instant, actually. Like you kick it, she raises her leg a little bit before she stomps down, and it instantly hits everything. So I think that could be a really big nuke ability. Plus you also keep the forward guard on it, right? We didn't lose any of the protection that the ability has. So I'm really looking forward to being able to use that. And so now with the successions, it seems that every class is going to be able to keep 2 of their awakening abilities. And so the ones we kept were Moonlight and All Around Spinner. So I'll show you the animation. So this is for Moonlight, right? The way they did it is you press C plus up or C plus down, right? So C plus forward or C plus W, if you will, does Moonlight, right? Which is a super armor gap closing ability. It's protected way to engage, right? So I guess you would go for the typical Moonlight into grab, right? So that's chaining together those simple armors. And then we also got to keep All Around Spinner, which is really nice because it's our forward guard trading ability. That's what I typically use it for trading. And they added a big AoE at the back end of it, right? So it's pretty nice. That's probably the 2 best abilities, in my opinion, that we could have kept with Succession, is the protected movement of Moonlight and the ability to forward guard trade. And that AoE is nuts, right? Like I'm standing right here, but I still hit this guy that's completely to the left, and I'm not sure if that's hitbox issues or what, but the range is really big. Range is huge. So I kind of want to go through what you give up now that we've gone over the abilities. So as a tamer, the succession system doesn't really hit us as hard as it hits some other classes in a way, because again, 90% or so of our damage comes from the pre-awakened kit, and that's pretty much the way it's always been. The biggest thing we lose is the 16 AP and the iframe that's on leaves. All right, leaves dropping, which is our dash, which is an iframe. You get 16 AP after you do it twice for 5 seconds. So that will be pretty big to lose. And then All Around Spinner, the 100%, which is pretty much what Tamer is known for nowadays, right? Which is what gives her a place in Node Wars and Sieges. I don't honestly know if that is something that you would also want to give away as well. But other than that, most of the other stuff, like for example, Garuda, right? You could say, oh, but you lose the 20 magic DP. But honestly, Pole Thrust Pole Thrust has a minus 15 magic DP debuff, right? And it can be weaved in with your Bolt Wave and Jolt Wave, so you don't really, you're not really losing that debuff. Honestly, it's just like a 5 DP difference, which again, that can be a lot, but it could be worse, right? And most of our other abilities are like Pole Vault. That's nice, but ever since they made the Cloud Ride not an iframe anymore, it's pretty janky, and it doesn't really like work very well anyway. So I could see giving that up. But overall, I do like it. I do like it. But I would say the biggest con that I have with it right now, which hopefully will be changed, is we currently have no S block, right? So our block is in our awakening form as a tamer. Our block is right here. We can only block while we are in awakening. But because we're giving away awakening, we will not have an S block, right? I've tested this out, and that is pretty much a big deal. I mean, it wouldn't be a big deal if pretty much every other class didn't have an S block. So I'm guessing that they will eventually give Tamer an S block in pre-awakening. That would be really nice. But without it, that's gonna make grinding spots like Akhman, Histria, and Sakraya with the Succession, where you have to group the mobs up, probably near impossible without being able to block. So I do see that as a problem. But overall, I think the Succession is nice. It's too early for me to say whether it's gonna have a place in Node Wars Siege, but I could definitely see it being a boost in to our grind speed in PvE, just because of the increased damage, the increased AoE, and the protection added to a couple more abilities. So that's gonna be it for me. I need to do more damage more tests on in terms of grind spots, but that's really hard to do on test server, especially with this kited gear they give you, which doesn't even come with a Kutum. So I'm gonna see if I can get a Kutum and maybe like throw together some other gear, and I'll do another video testing how it performs in different grind spots, and maybe try to find someone to do some PvP duels against. But maybe that's probably gonna be done live on Twitch, because I still prefer that over YouTube. But that's gonna be it for me. If you want to catch me live, you'll feel free to follow me, twitch.tv/Khur. But if you have any questions or if I forgot anything, you feel free to let me know down in the comments. Peace.